Mr. Rousseau. As you can tell by your arrest earlier in the day and these papers in front of you, U.S. government has been very anxious to have a word with you.
This doesn't make any sense. I've done nothing wrong. One moment I'm in my home sleeping, next thing I know your men are breaking into my house, screaming and pointing their weapons at me.
Allow me to apologize for the actions my men may have committed against you during your apprehension.
Apologize? Why was I even arrested in the first place? I've done nothing illegal.
Put it lightly, Mr. Rousseau, the U.S. government sees you as a potential threat towards our country's national security, and also to the national security of our allies within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, especially our ally of France, which you currently reside in.
A threat to national security? This is absolutely absurd. I've done nothing wrong to be seen as a threat. You will not get away with this. I demand to speak to a lawyer now.
Allow me to make myself absolutely clear to you, Mr. Rousseau, because I'm only going to say this once. You are in the hands of the CIA, not that of the United States government. This whole meeting, in the name of national security, is off the books. The commander-in-chief himself has no idea this meeting is happening. Ask any senator, no clue this happened, will ever happen, or what happened here in these events today. Any acts of disobedience, any attempts not to comply, or any further outbursts from you will be met with you being detained. We'll throw you into any hole we find you until we need a use for you again. We'll beat every confession out of you, get every single word we need from you, and when we're done with you, your lifeless corpse will wash up on the Siberian coastline. Is that clear?
Yes.
So, with this meeting, allow me to decide if you truly are the threat that Washington sees you to our national security. If not, we'll let you walk, provided you never disclose the events that this meeting had ever occurred or anything that happened with it. Are we absolutely clear, Mr. Rousseau?
Yes.
Good. Now the whole reason you are here is because of the social contract. The book you wrote, we want to know why you wrote it.
My social contract? Why?
Again, Mr. Rousseau, why did you write the social contract?
I wrote the social contract because of how unjust the society of Paris was. The rule of law that dictates the lives of all was almost always fabricated by the rich and members of high society and was almost always tailored to their interests and never to the interests of the common people. Many of these individuals were reaping the benefits that which the society had to offer without actively committing to their duties towards said society. Let us not forget that many governments still run on old and ineffective ways to manage their populace. So, what would defend the interests of all, from the common people to the members of highest society, while allowing for all to maintain their freedoms? This is the conundrum that the social contract provides a proper solution to, but I don't see why this would land on the CIA's radar.
So what you're saying is you wrote the social contract for the inhabitants of Paris?
Not just for the inhabitants of Paris, but at this point, for people all around the world.
So, just explain to me how the social contract solves the problem that you had just mentioned earlier.
In the social contract, I discussed that people could live together in a society in accordance to an agreement that establishes moral and political rules of behavior, as all men in nature are naturally good. This agreement would be that of the general will which everyone would abide by. If we live according to a social contract, we could live morally by our own choice, and not because a divine being requires it, because laws are binding only when they are supported by the general will of the people. This is the system that proper government should follow instead of the old traditional systems that many absolute and authoritarian systems follow.
General will? With all due respect, Mr. Rousseau, this is all beginning to sound like some communist propaganda to me.
Far from it, and it's kind of ironic that you would call my theory communist propaganda, seeing as how your government utilizes it in its own way.
Elaborate.
Your Constitution, for example, is a part of America's social contract. It sets out what the government can and cannot do. The people of your country who live in America agree to be governed by these political and moral obligations outlined in the Constitution's social contract, which is binding as it is under the support of the general will of its people.
So, what was this idea in the social contract where you discussed that people were being forced to be free?
No freedom is lost under the social contract because people use their freedom to agree to the rules that will dictate them under the support of the general will. So they are forced to be free.
As interesting as this all has been, I believe I may have gathered all that I'm going to need from my superiors. Thank you for your cooperation. You will remain here until further instructed. Good evening, Mr. Rousseau.